Hi y'all, it's Illuminate Mind. How are you? CBS News to Roseville Police Department, Plaza County Sheriff's Office denies FOIA request. So CBS News is actually suing Roseville PD because they are not releasing the whole bodycam footage. They have released some edited pieces. What's going on? Why they are not releasing the whole bodycam footage? Does it show a different narrative? What went down at the park when Eric Gabriel took 2 hostages and it led to a shootout? 1 person died. What happened there? Why they went to serve the warrant at his mom's house and he was able to escape to the park and they followed him there? And how law enforcement was able to screw up so many times in this case with this person. This Eric Gabriel guy was able to escape prison. Well, he was transferred to a hospital, which is not a prison hospital. Apparently they take care of inmates as well. Someone had changed the logs that Eric Gabriel just needs 1 officer guarding him when there's transfer. Who made the change and why? Was it because they were trying to save money? And then he was able to escape. And then Placer County Sheriff's Office, they couldn't even find him. Homeowner alerted law enforcement, hey, he is at my yard. How law enforcement screwed up so many times with this person. They went to serve warrant that led to a kidnapping and that led to a shootout with CHP and this Eric Gabriel guy. Unfortunately, 1 person died. And then he was able to escape prison because someone had changed the logs that he only needs 1 officer guarding him when there's a transfer. And he had some medical issue and he was transferred to a hospital. And the hospital is not prison hospital, they just take care of the inmates as well. And law enforcement is staying silent how they screwed up. Denying FOIA requests, they are denying public records from the prison, they are denying public records of the bodycam footage. That's corruption. Apparently Roseville PD, Roseville Police Department is handling this case, and CHP, California Highway Patrol, Placer County Sheriff's Office, they all seem to be kind of like hiding. Placer County Sheriff's Office is not releasing FOIA requests from the prison escape, and then Roseville PD is not releasing the bodycam footage from the CHP serving the warrant that led to a shootout. So what is going on? Clearly they are hiding something. There should be an internal investigation. Why they are denying FOIA requests? Which, by the way, public records. It's Freedom of Information Act. It's the law. They have to release the records, the bodycam footage, because taxpayer has paid them. They deserve the truth. Okay? Anything can be redacted, and oh boy, if they release something, they have been redacting even something that should be public information. So clearly they are hiding something. And CBS News is now suing Roseville PD for the bodycam footage. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? In order to get public records, you have to now sue them? Oh no, this is not there. This is not the law. No. It's just clear they are hiding something. And the fact that all these agencies are hiding, these Northern Californian law enforcement agencies, and with this person, With so many incidents, there should be some internal investigation. What is going on? So CBS Sacramento News, their investigates series, they actually sued for the body cam footage. So CHP hasn't given them body cam footage when they were serving the warrant for Eric April. What's going on? What are you hiding?
The California Police Department is refusing to release body cam video, and its legal argument could actually roll back law enforcement transparency across the state.
As California investigative correspondent Julie Watts explains, CBS is suing not just to get the video, but to prevent an agency from effectively rewriting state law.
Yeah, we've been working with law enforcement for nearly a year to try to avoid this lawsuit. But one local agency is simply refusing to release its full video, which the public has a right to see. And if we don't push back, their interpretation of the law could have a ripple effect across the state.
But my favorite part is the binoculars.
These days,
Now they look closer.
7-year-old Sawyer is always on the lookout.
And I keep thinking about bad guys.
And he has good reason.
It was really scary.
Sawyer's mom, Kelsey, decided to take the kids to this popular park last April during spring break.
There were kids all over, kids at camp and kids without parents.
Little did they know, a Highway Patrol Special Task Force had already made what turned out to be a fatal decision to serve a planned, high-risk search warrant to an armed felon at a public park without clearing the park or notifying local police.
I just really don't understand why they chose this park that day.
Multiple shots fired, suspect, white male.
For days, CHP had been surveilling a felon with a history of running from police. But instead of serving the warrant at his home, they chose to wait until he took his dogs to a busy park.
And then we see cops chasing after a criminal.
Court records allege when officers confronted suspect Eric April, he began shooting at them.
Officer confirmed gunshot wound to the chest and hand.
CHP fired back as April ran toward the batting cages,
That's when we got on the ground.
where kids were playing.
And then gunshots were fired, roughly 20.
Bullet holes near the batting cages revealed just how close the children were to being shot in the crossfire.
It was terrifying.
Jim McKeegan and his high school sweetheart Patty were out for a walk.
Whose genius idea was to serve warrant at the public park? They had been surveilling him for days. I don't know, CHP isn't looking that good now. And CBS actually is suing the law enforcement. Can you believe that? Because they are not releasing the body cam footage and are denying FOIA requests. And now they are claiming, oh, we don't have to actually release everything because it wasn't our guy who shot the couple. But how can you know that? How do we know it's the truth and you're not hiding anything?
They just celebrated their 50th anniversary. It would be their last.
He's gonna shoot the hostage.
As local police swarmed the park, Jim was killed and April used Patty as a human shield.
I was thinking it would shoot me.
Park staff quickly rushed kids into the library, where they had to hide under tables to avoid the windows.
He was too scared to go to sleep. He would double check all the locks.
Nearly a year later, the community is still desperate for answers and accountability.
I would ask CHP if they would make the same decision if their kids were playing at the park.
Keep in mind, CHP is the governor's police force with jurisdiction across the state.
It could happen to anyone's family at any park.
But CHP won't answer questions or acknowledge any policy changes when serving high-risk warrants.
It feels like they're trying to cover it up.
So we've been searching for answers through public records, including video from that day,
Guys, get down.
which appears to begin after Mr. McKeegan was killed.
Suspect is in custody.
The sheriff's department hasn't released his coroner's report, but multiple sources tell CBS News it's inconclusive about where the fatal shot came from, meaning it's not clear who fired it.
Whoever's in the field, you're in our backdrop.
Roseville PD, which took over the investigation, says it's confident the suspect fatally shot the victim, but refuses to release its full body camera video. releasing just 4 39-second edited clips.
123 Crossfire, I was the one who fired the shot.
Which appear to show officers shooting at each other amid the chaos, but provide little transparency or context for what went wrong that day. The risk to the
So why the edited footage? Why just not release the body cam footage in its total? This seems like you are hiding something, CHP, Roseville PD, Plaza County Sheriff's Office. Everybody is hiding. Something happened with this Eric April inmate guy. Everything has gone to shit. How they served the warrant when he was notorious for escaping police. And then he was able to escape the hospital. Why he was signed only one officer, who changed the logs that he needed 2 officers, who changed it to 1. What the hell is going on?
children, the McKeegans, and to officers. Drop the gun! State law requires agencies release any recording that relates to a law enforcement shooting or critical incident. For instance, remember when 14-year-old Valentina was killed trying on quinceañera dresses in a Southern California dressing room? A stray bullet pierced the dressing room wall, killing Valentina, who died in her mother's arms while hiding and praying. Per LAPD policy, based on state law, they had to release the video of the actions and events leading up to and including the critical incident. San Francisco PD has a similar policy and hosts its videos on the city's YouTube channel. But Roseville PD is now attempting to rewrite state law. Instead of releasing recordings that depict an incident involving the discharge of a firearm, they claim they only have to release the video of the discharge of the firearm.
The video is public property.
San Francisco Assemblymember Phil Ting wrote the law.
Exactly, it's public record. Why Roseville PD is trying to change the law? Why oh why? And why Placer Sheriff is okay with it, and why CHP seems to be hiding too? They should really look into these agencies. Something going on with this area when news are publishing that Placer County Sheriff's Office is hiding something. Now it's CHP, Roseville PD, Placer County Sheriff's Office, Nevada County Sheriff's Office. And they are kind of like all in the same region. Where's the investigation how Kylie Rodney case was conducted? I mean, they didn't find in 2 weeks with Homeland Security 50 FBI agents, 16 agencies. Really? They promised that the press would answer questions later. Well, when is that later? They have never answered questions what happened to Kylie Rodney. They just released the autopsy, but it doesn't say anything what happened to her. It doesn't even explain the drowning. There's no signs of drowning, so how the medical examiner came up with the drowning? Usually there should be some conclusion. How did he determine it's an accidental drowning? How? When there's no water in lungs. How?
That Roseville's trying to change. He worries Roseville's interpretation could prompt other agencies to start withholding video, stressing the public pays for the police cameras and the servers they store that video on, so the video belongs to the public. They're arguing that under your legislation, they're only required to release the 39 seconds when the bullets actually left the gun. When you drafted this legislation, did you intend to define the critical incident as only the moments of the discharge of the firearm?
Absolutely not, because if that was the case, that would have been written into law. In order to provide transparency, you need to know what's happening leading up to the confrontation.
And in California, if a public agency refuses to release a public record,
your only option is to sue.
I imagine it'll be a court decision on this.
Law enforcement consultant John McGinnis supports police transparency, but the former Sacramento County Sheriff also supports Roseville PD in this case. Roseville PD is saying, we're not going to abide by the law. We're going to make you sue us to get this video, and taxpayers are going to have to foot the bill. Is that fair?
I don't know why they're withholding it, but if they believe they're on solid ground, if they're doing the right thing, I say stand on principle and let another branch of government make that decision.
We've now filed our body camera lawsuit.
Who has the money to start suing government or law enforcement agencies? Like, who? In the California case, when I made 2 FOIA requests, they were coming back like, you need court order or subpoena. It's under investigation. It's because the case is still under investigation. And the gas station footage, not releasing it. Why? I mean, if it's just an accident, why not release it?
And Brill is awaiting his trial.
Escape from the hospital.
Now facing additional charges for escaping about a month after the shootout. And in a twist of fate,
I found it at Grandma's house.
he was found hiding in the creek just feet from Sawyer's grandma's front door.
I know 911,
Sawyer's learned a lot over the past year,
but I don't have a phone.
maybe more than any 7-year-old should have to.
But I do have a plan.
Kelsey's hoping the full body camera video
I would be
will
like
shed light on CHP's plan that day,
dodging and dodging the gun shoots.
providing answers and accountability,
And then I would hide.
so other kids don't feel the need to plan for the next CHP shootout. Now, to be clear, the purpose of fighting for this video is not to air graphic or sensational images. It's to provide context and clarity and closure for a traumatized community. And the purpose of this lawsuit is to prevent one agency from effectively rewriting state law. So other kids don't feel. And the purpose of this lawsuit.
Exactly. Requesting public records under Freedom of Information Act isn't to get some salacious footage or information. It's about, is the law enforcement agency telling the truth? And they are public records. And when they are denied, it raises the question, why? Anything sensitive can be redacted. And usually is. Poor baby, poor children. They shouldn't have had to witness that shootout. CSP screwed up, and now they're trying to hide it. And that leads to corruption. When are these law enforcement agencies who are trying to hide shit? When they are held accountable? There definitely should be some internal investigation going on. What is going on with these Northern California law enforcement agencies? THP, Washoe County Sheriff's Office, Roseville PD, Placer, Nevada County Sheriff's Office. They need to be investigated. They don't answer questions. They are denying FOIA requests, hiding bodycam footage, not answering questions. They think they are above the law. And that can't be. It could be like they have nothing to hide. But then again, why not then publish what they have? Why hide it? And CBS News is right. Law enforcement agencies are trying to change the policy when to release bodycam footage. And here is more information. Who is this Eric April guy?
Tonight, we're learning much more about the man at the center of all of this. He has a long criminal history, and he has a history of running from police.
That's right.
Getting answers from CHP sources tonight who confirm members of a special task force were serving a search warrant yesterday related to a felony investigation into a February highway shooting. Now, Eric Abril was at the park with his dogs when officers attempted to serve the warrant, and he ran. But it was not the first time he reportedly ran from police. This is a mugshot from 2014 when Abril allegedly attacked a San Luis Obispo store employee. News reports at the time say he ran from officers into a creek, leading police on a lengthy chase then as well. Now, at the time, he had an outstanding felony warrant out of Santa Clara County, where his court records date back to 2007. To clarify, yesterday, officers were attempting to serve a search warrant, not an arrest warrant, as was widely reported. The warrant to search his home and his car was related to that felony investigation of a highway shooting in Sacramento County earlier this year. It's not clear why officers chose to serve the warrant at a public park instead of his home, but that's where our Madison Keevy has been today, getting answers from neighbors about what led up to yesterday's shooting.
Yeah, it's what led up to yesterday's shooting and also what's still happening today. This caution tape right here at the batting cages at Mahaney Park was just put up within the last hour and a half. We've learned we see investigators that are working out just beyond this, an area that we were able to get video of here earlier today. Now, we did reach out to Roseville PD. They said that ongoing canvassing is just part of this investigation at a crime scene that spans this large, over 200-acre park in this area. Neighbors say they didn't see this coming. They had seen Abril before, but never thought he would be involved in something like this.
I got halfway down there was a cop down there, and then I looked down there was a cop, and I'm going, okay, something.
Now, you get an idea of just the span of that crime scene again when you're looking at it from above. You know, this again is that live look of this continued investigation. And we're told that Mahaney Park, while the caution tape is down in the parking lots and people are able to come into the fields, it's not technically open, but people have come back today. They weren't going to let what happened yesterday stop them. They said they have to get the fields ready for the season, but we understand they're on a drive from the active shooter scene at Mahaney Park Thursday. Law enforcement had their guns drawn.
And they swooped that house. And they started out like that. Next thing you know, sheriffs came, like a SWAT team, and there was like 6 of them that went in the house, hand on shoulder.
Eric Abril's mother, according to neighbor Jim Taylor, lived in the home too. Her son around often, but nothing stood out as dangerous.
She's screaming, "Don't break down my door," is what I think I heard.
The same warrant led law enforcement to Mahaney Park that Friday reopened to the public. Witnesses pieced together the path Abril took out of his car in the parking lot towards the dog park, followed closely behind by multiple officers. He turned towards the batting cages as law enforcement yelled at Abril.
And then that's when we got on the ground. And then gunshots were fired, roughly 20. And then after that, he tripped like 4 or 5 feet in front of us on a ball that my friend had hit.
From here, a witness says Abril got back up and went towards the Greenbelt, where Roseville PD says he took 2 hostages, James McEgan and his wife. McEgan died and his wife was injured. Abril was taken into custody behind the fields here. Are more questions when it comes to the timeline and specifically when that CHP officer was injured in all of this. We're asking those questions.
This ABC 10 news segment, to the point, it was done 8 months ago. So right when he escaped and he was caught, before the investigative report. And again, Placer Sheriff, they are hiding something. Even news are saying out loud. Placer Sheriff keeps details secret after Eric Abril's escape.
On to the point, we hold the powerful accountable. After a murder suspect escaped from a Roseville hospital, the agency responsible is refusing to answer our questions.
And I'll take full responsibility, and we'll make sure it never happens again.
That was Placer County Sheriff Wayne Wu earlier this month saying the escape of a dangerous inmate should never have happened.
Are you surprised that Placer sheriff isn't answering questions. I don't know. Kind of explains the Kyle Rodney case, even though it's now Nevada County Sheriff's Office, but it seems like they have the same practices.
ABC 10 investigative reporter Brandon Ritteman has been pushing for details from the Placer County Sheriff's Office, trying to learn how this escape was possible. And Brandon, I have to ask you, has the Sheriff's Office been open about any of this?
Not about everything. We filed half a dozen requests for public records about this escape, almost all of which the Placer County Sheriff's Office refused to show us. The sheriff.
So FOIA requests are being denied. Again, Kyle Rodney case. Everything is coming back like, if you ask Placer, they say County Nevada, they are handling the case. And when you ask Nevada, they say we can't publish that because it's under investigation, or they are, yeah, that's not our record, you have to go to Placer.
Sheriff's Office is keeping secret even some very basic details, like the staffing level of deputies who are paid with your tax dollars. The inmate in this story keeps putting the actions of law enforcement under a microscope. Back in April, officers tried to serve a search warrant on Eric Abril in a Roseville park. He shot one of the officers, they say, and a couple that he took hostage. James McEgan, the husband in that couple, died.
It shouldn't have happened to them.
Fast forward to this month.
As the sheriff who's in charge of the jail and the custody of prisoners, this should have never happened.
Held on murder charges, Eric Abril got away from the Placer County Sheriff's Office.
Just after 3 a.m., inmate Eric Abril was able to escape.
We learned only one deputy was assigned to act as Abril's guard during a trip to the hospital.
And I'll take full responsibility.
The sheriff said he was looking into how his office decided to make a change back in May. Instead of needing 2 deputies to act as guards, he was classified as only needing 1. Once Abril was back in handcuffs, we used the California Public Records Act to press the sheriff for more details. But almost all the records we asked for, the sheriff's office kept secret. We got just 1 page showing a deputy was assigned to guard Abril when he left the jail, but most of the other details on the page were blacked out.
Well, that's exactly why we have a Public Records Act, so we can verify what politicians promise to us. The public generally has a right to the full story, not just the official story.
David Loy, a lawyer with the First Amendment Coalition, was especially troubled that the Placer County Sheriff refused to release its duty rosters, a list of who was working around the time of the escape, and it refused to share its minimum staffing levels. The Sheriff's Office told us making those facts public wouldn't be in the public interest, even though the sheriff personally fielded questions about them.
I have no information to believe that this was at all related to staffing levels.
That would seem to be, to me, an acknowledgement by the sheriff himself that there is public interest in knowing about the staffing levels.
So I have gotten some FOIA requests denied because of it's not in public's interest. I think some documents about Dante de la Torre, Trinity Bagus, the Yuba couple whose car was, who I found side of the cliff, and then there was Chalisa Fuentes. Also, they are not releasing those. Some of them are, of course, Washoe County Sheriff's Office, and they are not releasing, for example, autopsies. You have to be next of kin. And the problem with this, Dante, Trinity, Kylie, they are minors, so they can use that we don't have to release anything. And that's actually quite problematic, even though I kinda get why minors are more protected. But then again, I feel like some details should be public. Like some parts of the autopsy, not all, but some. And I think Dante because it actually might be suicide. So that's why they are not publishing the autopsy. But it's curious that they have published Kylie Rodney's and Trinity's. And I wonder if it's because it's in public's interest because it was so big cases. So they wanted to publish them so it could kind of ease the social media rumors. Or maybe the family was like, yeah, you can publish them. But yeah, this is not the point that law enforcement can just keep records hidden. I mean, this kind of feels like Placer Sheriff have something to hide when they are not releasing everything that's going on. What happened when the inmate was able to escape? Is it because law enforcement were trying to, I don't know, save money and were low on staff and they were like, yeah, he needs just one officer or something like that? Or what is going on? Something is going on. You don't black out those details which should be public without a reason.
I agree. Whether the sheriff made that statement or not, the public always has an interest in knowing who's on the public payroll. Are they doing their job? How are they being managed? How are they being allocated? You know, it's our tax dollars.
We expect inmates to stay locked up. For now, the sheriff seems intent on keeping key information locked up too. We sent a long list of questions to the sheriff's office for this story, but received no reply by our deadline this afternoon.
Now, you weren't able to get the answers that you were hoping for, but you were able to use the Public Records Act to rule something out in this case. What was that specifically?
Yeah, so under the PRA in California, an agency can do one of three basic things when you ask for a public record. They can give you that record, they can withhold it, and then they're supposed to tell you why. Or they'll tell you there is no record. And that is what the Placer County Sheriff's Office told us when we asked if they had any kind of formal agreement with the hospital about how to manage patients who are in custody. The hospital, Placer Roseville, has pointed us to the sheriff's office when we've asked them for any details about this case.
All right, Brandon, thank you so much. Of course, you already know we'll continue to follow this.
Thanks.
Interesting. They have no record. But they must have a record. But they have some kind of like agreement, some kind of record with the hospital that they treat inmates. That just make you wonder what is going on. What are you hiding? Not great. Taxpayer money wasted. Kylie Rodney case. They had 16 agencies. Placer and Nevada Sheriff's Office, Truckee PD, Homeland Security, 50 FBI agents. Yet they couldn't find car. Where was the last ping? Where he was last seen? No reports, no footage that the car would have left the campground or sanctuary. And the water is quite clear. There isn't any tree branches or anything that could possibly block the view. They were divers, they have sonar, they had submersible with cam that they could remote control. And they couldn't find the car in 2 weeks? Really? Well, what the hell happened? And why there are reports that you were not following up leads? And why you were at the community meeting? Angela and Sam Brown were just so rude about the tips, and how Angela was just like, we never said it was a black tank top. We said it was a bodysuit. Well, actually, for 3 days, you actually said it was a black tank top. So why you are throwing this hissy fit over this? Because somebody found a black tank top? What? You weren't interested collecting it? Why? There's just so many things that doesn't add up in the Kylie Rodney case. No water in lungs. Friend statements don't add up with witness statements. Kylie's classmate was parked next to her, 1 a.m. Why the gas station footage? It was the last known footage. Why it was never released? In every missing people cases, that's the crucial information. You want to release it. Let's watch some more about this escape situation.
Hospital back in July. Meanwhile, we are learning new information tonight about how a Placer County inmate escaped from a hospital back in July.
In a report prepared by former Sacramento County Sheriff Scott Jones, it states the deputy watching Erica Brill had gone to the restroom without knowing if he was properly restrained.
The Sheriff's Office releasing new details of what led to a 33-hour manhunt. According to the report, the deputy was unaware Brill had defeated his restraints, and he did not check to see if he was restrained before using the restroom.
It was kind of a historical preference for having a single officer escort folks that go to the hospital. And that's driven by a lot of factors. Staffing, as I mentioned in the report, is a big one among them.
Scott Jones, the former sheriff of Sacramento County, led the investigation for Placer County Sheriff Wayne Wu. Jones tells me he looked at their policy, best practices, and other agencies to see what they were doing. He states factors contributing to the escape included staffing shortages, policy deficiencies, and internal practices.
Ideally, every person would be at least a two-person transport, but that's not really practical for Placer just because of their staffing. And that was some of my other recommendations is, increase staffing and also increase the ratio of deputies.
Contributing to the escape included staffing shortages, policy deficiencies, and internal practices.
Ideally, every person would be at least a two-person transport, but that's not really practical for Placer just because of their staffing. And that was some of my other recommendations is, increase staffing and also increase the ratio of deputy sheriffs.
That's because only deputy sheriffs can do the medical transports. In response to this, the Placer County Board of Supervisors approved 5 new deputy sheriff positions to address West Placer growth. Sheriff Wu says they'll specifically focus on handling medical tasks and hospital transports. Scott Jones's advice moving forward:
just be introspective about, your policies and your practices and your cultures, and ensure that they're shored up before you find the cracks in them or someone else finds the cracks in them for you.
That was our Roxanne Elias reporting. A spokesperson for the Placer County Sheriff's Office says they continue to reevaluate policies and practices to ensure they're in line with the best practices, and any action taken with the deputy will not be made public. That's because the matter is part of their internal investigation.
So let's watch this news segment. This happened like 6 months ago or something like that. Placer Sheriff releases investigative report on escape of inmate Eric Abril. Let's hear the excuses.
Now know the deputy guarding a suspected murderer at Sutter Roseville went to the bathroom, allowing Eric Abril to escape.
CBS 13's Rachel Wolf with the changes the sheriff's department's now making.
The lockdowns and fear that gripped the Roseville and Rockland area for 33 hours in early July won't be forgotten anytime soon.
The awful things that he did, and it's a better thing for him to be off the streets than on the streets.
A manhunt for Eric Abril, who'd been in jail, accused of murdering a man and injuring his wife and a CHP officer at Mahaney Park this spring. In July, Abril was transported to Sutter Roseville Medical Center under guard to be monitored for seizures, and that's when he walked away.
We will not stop until Abril is back in custody, and we will utilize every resource at our disposal.
This Ring doorbell camera helped track him down, but backtracking to the point of his escape is what an independent third-party report focused on. In it, the sheriff's office admits the sole deputy watching Abril went to the restroom inside Abril's hospital room without ensuring Abril was properly restrained. The sheriff says there was a failure to follow fundamental law enforcement practices and departmental policies. This, combined with complacency, led to the escape. So why was Abril, with 5 prior convictions for things like evading arrest, theft, and weapons, and now facing homicide charges, not monitored more carefully? After looking at internal protocols and procedures, the report made recommendations, most of which have already been implemented. The recommendations include
The thing is, there already was policy in place that Eric Abril should have had 2 guards. But somehow it was changed that he needs only 1. He needs only 1 guard. Who changed? So who made the change on the log? It was changed sometime this summer. This doesn't answer that. It's just like, okay, we have this recommendation that consider options for second transport officer. Yeah, that policy was already in place. And Placer County Sheriff's Office failed to follow that procedure. Okay? So the thing is, why this dangerous inmate was able to escape and why he had only 1 officer? Who made the change that he needs only 1? When it was said on the logs that he needs 2 guards all times. I mean, he kidnapped 2 people when they were serving the warrant, and 1 died. So, huge failure. And this investigative report is really nothing burger. No one is being held accountable.
increase staffing of deputy sheriffs on each shift, consider additional options for the second officer of a 2-officer transport, and adding 1 deputy to each jail facility as an intelligence officer. After recorded calls captured on the jail telephone system could have triggered further investigation. The Placer Sheriff will also provide restraints, address the number of officers that will transport or guard an inmate admitted in the hospital, and provide guidance for restroom breaks. A look back to look forward and ensure this doesn't happen again.
Well, former Sacramento Sheriff Scott Jones wrote the investigative report.
Former Sacramento Sheriff wrote the report. Really? Didn't they get anyone, like, I don't know, from another state or something? Sacramento is a little bit too close. Roseville and Auburn and all the shit that is going on there. So I made a video about the prison escape 8 months ago, and then there was Sheriff Wu from Placer County Sheriff's Office explaining and being very defensive, passive-aggressive to reporters. He was like, why I have to even explain this? Can't you see we are trying here? And it's like, no, we don't. He has screwed up so many times with this person.
These are local.
Considering his background, you have a guy that's suspected of murdering someone, taking hostages, shooting elderly people. Was there more than 1 guard that was assigned to him inside the hospital for whatever procedure he was having done?
So again, that's part of that under investigation part. We'll let everyone know once we're done, and let everyone know what's happening with our current investigation.
Generically speaking, if you have a
Yeah, Placer County Sheriff's Office deputies, they just love to say, we can't tell you because it's ongoing investigation, but we will promise you we will follow up with these questions later. And they never do. Or they then came with some bullshit. Kylie Rodney case, they have never said, well, they transferred to Nevada County Sheriff's Office because she was found from their jurisdiction, but, you know, something is up. Nevada and Placer, what the fuck they are hiding? And you should really watch the Everyone Counts. It investigates Placer County Sheriff's Office and how they have been and how they never investigated the mysterious deaths in Auburn, where homeless people or some people were found from the creek or from the train tracks, and they were like, yeah, this is just accident or suicide. Bullshit. They never investigated, just like Kyle Rodney.
Gabriel back into custody. Thank the community of Placer. An alert homeowner who was taking his dog out. Dog started barking. The deputy, there are parallel investigations, and now that we conduct this internal audit, review, and investigation of the deputy, this deputy does have due process rights as well, and he hasn't even been interviewed. So I would hate to speculate on what this deputy's actions were or were not prematurely.
Why has he not been interviewed yet?
He's been noticed to be interviewed, and an interview will be conducted when we can coordinate it.
Is he still fully employed by the department? Is he still on active duty?
He is.
Is there a chance that he...
I'm going to take somebody else's question. You got to allow other people. Thank you. Yeah, so Abril was initially taken to the hospital by ambulance, so there was some type of medical episode. This decision was made by jail medical staff that he needed to be transported to the hospital and transported by ambulance, not just in the back of a patrol car. Sheriff's deputy, he is assigned a body camera. I can't confirm whether he was wearing it or not. The jail classification, we have learned this over the last 24 hours, that when Abril first came into custody, he was classified as a 2-officer move. I can say that sometime during the month of May, our classification unit downgraded him to a 1-officer move, and that'll be part of this entire review of how that occurred, what prompted that decision, what levels of approval that decision needs to go through, and we'll make course corrections if that's needed to ensure that this never happens again.
There's again the FBI agent who was in the California case at the last presser. Jon knows. He's Jon Snow. I was kind of hoping, like, because he was doing all these faces at the California presser, like he wasn't impressed with the law enforcement. They were just explaining how they didn't find her. And again, Placer County Sheriff's Office is explaining how they didn't find the inmate, how he was able to escape. You would think, like, this dude would, I don't know, start an internal investigation. What the hell is going on in Placer County Sheriff's Office and Nevada County Sheriff's Office? They are all the time screwing things up. But not sure if I'm just hoping too much.
Yeah, I would say that as the sheriff of this entire county, I take full responsibility for this incident, quite frankly. I take the protection of this community seriously, and quite frankly, as the sheriff who's in charge of the jail and the custody of prisoners, this should have never happened. And I can guarantee you this, we'll make whatever course corrections we need to, and I'll take full responsibility, and we'll make sure it never happens again, at least not while I'm the sheriff. I can guarantee you that.
Sheriff, do you believe that staffing levels could have been part of...
come on. Sheriff Wu is so passive-aggressive. From the start, he was so angry with the reporters. Like, how dare you ask that? Like, come on, we are doing everything we can. Can't you see that? Yeah, no, we can't see that. The reporters are just doing their job. You know? And when he was like scolding the reporter, like, I already answered you, like, I would like to answer to other reporters as well. Like, dude, reporters' job is to ask questions. And you can pick your questions how you like. Like, just because they're asking questions, you don't have to be so mean to them. Like, he just snapped at the reporter, like, I would like to talk to other reporters as well. Like, so unnecessary and mean.
He left through a door, and a deputy did give chase. Lost him, from what I understand, somewhere in the parking lot. With over 60 leads we followed up on yesterday, none of them really turned out to be credible. So while we remained in that area of the point last seen, we also had to investigate all these other tips and people reporting different things, or, you know, somebody suspicious in the area. Those were all followed up on. And then as we regrouped today to get our plan of attack, everything led us back to that Rainier Court area, which is why we started that.
Yeah, but you didn't find him. Homeowner found him and called the law enforcement. And there were all these tips, and they have surveillance footage from 2 houses. They have some idea where he was. And Placer County Sheriff's Office were using canine dogs, and they couldn't find him. But then homeowner's dog alerted the homeowner, hey, there's something back of the home. And that's why he called the law enforcement when he saw there was somebody. And again, just explaining and excuses, and how the tips were, like, there were so many tips, like, oh, come on. The same thing happened at the Kylie Rodney case. And where the fuck was Sheriff Wu from the Kylie Rodney pressers? He went to the community meeting, probably because he knows his voters gonna be there. But from the news, no, there wasn't Sheriff Moon from Nevada County Sheriff's Office. There wasn't Wu from Placer County Sheriff's Office. High-profile case. There were 50 FBI agents, Homeland Security, and both Nevada and Placer County Sheriff's Office, the head of the department, are not at the pressers. That's strange as fuck. Usually, sheriff are always gonna be at the most important pressers, because it gives them attention and the idea for their voters that, hey, I'm doing something, remember me, vote me next time, you know? Weird.
It would be speculative on my part. You know, I don't know what actions the deputy did or did not do that could have violated policy or not. But I can assure this community that if policies were violated, appropriate disciplinary action will be taken in proportionate to whatever the violation was. I mean, nothing's off the table. We're very open-minded to look at this incident. We'll learn from it. We'll be better, and we'll ensure it never happens again. Have a special place here in Placer County. We have some of the highest quality of life and some of the lowest crime rates. And I want to preserve that for not only the community, but my family, my children, my grandchildren that are part of this community.
Wu says he'll prioritize recruiting and retention of qualified employees while partnering with the community, work collaboratively with other law enforcement agencies, and focus on department transparency. He has the endorsement of the retiring sheriff Devin Bell and his predecessor Ed Bonner, among other areas.
when Sheriff Wu was campaigning to be sheriff, he used records of the county to send some campaigning material. Something he shouldn't have done because he obtained it while he was in the office. And apparently the previous sheriff was rooting for this Wu guy. And Wu is the sheriff that Project Veritas revealed that when he was deputy and he was taking this minor girl for these ride-outs, he had sexual relationship with this girl, with a minor, when he was officer. That video is still up, and there was internal investigation at the time, I believe, but nothing happened because they concluded, the Placer County Sheriff's Office, basically Wu's colleague, made the investigation. Yeah, nothing inappropriate happened, and that was the end of it. And now he is the sheriff. Eric Gabriel is accused of kidnapping 2 people, shooting one of them. CHP went to serve search warrant at his mother's home, and he ran to the public park, which was near the mother's home. And there were kids, and there were like all the people. There were people at the park just enjoying. And then law enforcement, CHP, chased him to the public park, and there became a shootout. And they became a shootout, and he kidnapped 2 people, and 1 person died. And you would be curious that where the bullet came from, who really killed the hostage. Roseville PD refuses to release the whole body cam footage. It has released some edited footage. And now they are trying to say, oh no, we don't have to actually release everything. So CBS News is suing them, because this could also be a precedent case that this could be also the case that changes the practice of law enforcement when they release body cam footage. So of course, public and news, they have to be very aware of this situation, what Roseville PD is trying to do. They are trying to change the law so they don't have to release the whole body cam footage. CHP, Placer County Sheriff's Office, and Roseville PD, they are hiding something because they are not giving all public records. How so many law enforcement agencies failed and fumbled with this person. There needs to be an internal investigation, what's going on. And how Sheriff Wu still have an office. Oh wait, he is elected. Residents, they should be the ones that kick Sheriff Wu out in the next elections. Eric Gabriel was known to escape police, so why California Highway Patrol went to serve warrant at a public place? There was kids and people. And why Placer County Sheriff's Office didn't find Eric Gabriel when he escaped the prison, or actually the hospital. He had only 1 officer guarding him. Who changed the logs? He only needs 1 officer. There were tips coming from public. Law enforcement couldn't find him. 2 homeowners had surveillance footage of him. Canine dogs didn't find him, but homeowner who had a dog alerted homeowner that there is something behind the home, and he called the law enforcement, and so Eric Gabriel was caught. Placer County Sheriff's Office promised external inquiry how this happened. And who did they hire? They hired former Sacramento sheriff to conduct the inquiry. Isn't that interesting? They couldn't find anyone a little bit from further away, another state. Placer County Sheriff's Office denied FOIA requests, saying they and hospital doesn't have a record. So the question is, why Placer County Sheriff's Office is sending inmates to this hospital if they don't have any record, if they don't have any contract with the hospital that they are supposed to care of their inmates? Placer County Sheriff's Office released one redacted record. They are hiding who were working that day and how many were working that day. And it should be all public knowledge, but they redacted that information. Why? Why they are hiding that? Why they are hiding that? Sheriff Wu said that the pressure, staffing issues was not the cause. So what is then? We need an internal investigation, especially when they screwed up the Kylie Rodney case. They had 2 weeks, 16 agencies, FBI, 50 FBI agents, Homeland Security, Hayes' team, all these divers, and they couldn't find the car from Clearwater, from a reservoir, in 2 weeks. And by the way, Kylie Rodney case is still open. FOIA requests are being denied because of investigations, and CASP report is yet to be finished. So how Nevada County Sheriff's Office just concluded it's accidental drowning, and then the autopsy doesn't explain how it happened. There's something going on with these Northern Californian law enforcement agencies. You should check out Everyone Counts. It's a documentary from Auburn. It investigates suspicious deaths in Auburn, about 10 deaths that were said to be either suicide or accidental. And they were people being found from the creek, and they said, yeah, this is just accidental, even when there is proof that says otherwise. And then there's some suspicious deaths on train tracks. And this could be the case that other agencies are starting to follow because they see, oh, we can get away with shit, so we don't actually have to share everything. We can just edit body cam footages and call it a day. That's cool. Anyway, thank you for watching and see you in my next video. Bye!